Good evening. I want to thank you for being here this evening, braving the cold weather, to come out here for the magic of hope. We, as a Birmingham Public School System, have a strong partnership with a lot of organizations, but one very close partnership with the Birmingham Youth Assistance Program. And they are hosting this event this evening as they work collaboratively with the school district for proactive programs to help students, and also they help as well with some reactive when students sometimes make mistakes. And so I am really proud today to have the Birmingham Youth Assistance here putting this program on. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce the president of the Birmingham Youth Assistance Program, Ann Manning.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ann Manning. On behalf of Birmingham Youth Assistance, I want to welcome you all tonight to tonight's special event featuring the incredible Anthony Grupido. We are so pleased to have you here as we address the critical topic of mental health for our youth and share some valuable coping strategies. For those of you who may not be familiar with us, Birmingham Youth Assistance is a community-based nonprofit organization dedicated to strengthening youth and families while reducing the incidence of delinquency, abuse, and neglect. Our professional caseworker offers confidential counseling to young people facing a variety of challenges in their lives. We also provide family education, like tonight's program, camp scholarships, and youth mentoring. Birmingham Youth Assistance also offers fun family events, such as our annual Breakfast with Santa and Touch a Truck. I'd like to tell you about two exciting programs we have coming up shortly. On Sunday, February 2nd, kids aged 4 to 14 and their dogs can compete in fun categories like Best Trick, Waggiest Tail, and Best Costume at our 42nd annual Kids Dog Show. Advanced registration is required by January 31st. Also, Birmingham Youth Assistance annually recognizes middle school and high school students, honoring those who demonstrate a commitment to community service. Help us find these amazing kids by spreading the word. Nominations for our Youth in Service recognition are due by March 14th. This recognition looks great on college and scholarship applications, and selected honorees will receive financial awards. Flyers for these events are available on our resource table outside the auditorium, and you can find additional information on our website at www.birminghamyouthassistance.org. Tonight's event is not just important, it's vital. The challenges our youth face today require conversations like the one we'll have tonight, and we're honored to bring this opportunity to our community. We're grateful to many organizations and individuals who helped to make this event possible. First, many thanks to Oakland County Youth Assistance for the grant that funded this event and enabled us to offer admission free of charge to our community. To Birmingham Public Schools and Superintendent Dr. Roberson, thank you for your unwavering support. From providing this venue to promoting tonight's event, your partnership means everything to us. Thanks also to Stephen Carpenter for being here tonight to make sure technology is our friend and tonight's program is seamless. We're delighted that school counselors from Birmingham schools are here tonight to offer their professional support and help answer any questions you may have after the presentation. Counselors, could you please stand up so the audience can see where you're at? Thank you for being here. To our fellow youth assistance offices in Bloomfield, West Bloomfield, Troy, Novi, Rochester, and Royal Oak, thank you for promoting and attending tonight's event. Your collaboration is a testament to our shared mission of serving youth and families. A special thank you to the Birmingham Bloomfield Community Coalition for promoting this event and partnering with us. Their mission is to raise awareness and mobilize the community to prevent abuse of alcohol, tobacco, and drugs with a focus on kids. I encourage you to stop by their resource table outside the auditorium and learn about the special programs they offer for youth. To all of you, our community members, thank you for choosing to spend your evening with us and for braving the cold to get here. Your presence here shows your commitment to these important issues, and it inspires us to continue the work we do. And of course, a huge thank you to Anthony Grupido for being here with us tonight. We're so fortunate to have someone of his caliber and passion to guide us through this meaningful conversation. With no further ado, let's get this event started. I hope you enjoyed tonight's program.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Let's give her another big round of applause. Thanks for the introduction. Awesome. Well, hope everyone's doing good this evening. Let me reintroduce myself. My name is Anthony Grupido. I'm 29 years old, and I grew up in Lake Orion, Michigan. Yeah. As a magician, I used to tour all over the country as the opening act for people like the Impractical Jokers, Jim Gaffigan, the comedian, and some of the America's Got Talent winners. I've had a blast with my entertainment career, but the reason that they brought me here today is because about a decade ago, I started creating a presentation, the one that you're all about to see, called The Magic of Hope. And the reason I created this presentation is because, unfortunately, when I was in high school, I actually lost over 13 of my good friends and classmates to suicide, and I myself am a 3-time attempt survivor. I was always interested in learning more about the ways I could help people that I cared about, but here's the issue, and maybe some of you have experienced this before. Speakers would come to my school, and you could tell they were very passionate and they were very kind, but all they would do is pull down a PowerPoint that was full of data and statistics. So if for the next hour I showed you a bunch of bullet points that said 1 out of 4 people struggle with their mental health, or the second leading cause of death for middle school and high school age group is suicide, well, there's nothing that you can use with that information to help anyone. This presentation has actual tools and advice that you can use to help yourself, someone you care about, or someone you might meet in the future. And instead of death by PowerPoint, I actually use magic to display all the messages that we're talking about today. So before we get anything too educational, I was hoping to kick this off in the most fun way possible with my favorite card trick. Could I get a volunteer, someone that wants to help me out here on stage? We got some hands raised. How about you in the blue? Can I get your help? Let's give them a big round of applause. Come on up. Thank you for walking. If you fall, it would be funny, but it would probably hurt. So come on, all the way around the stairs there, and I'll come on over here. What was your name? William. Nice to meet you. Everyone, let's give William a big round of applause. William, come on stage. It's not too bright, hopefully, for you. Do me a favor, if you could stand over this trap door for me, that would be perfect. So I'm just joking, William, no trap door. Now, William, have you ever helped a magician before? No? Well, then prepare to be disappointed. Watch carefully. William, I have a deck of cards on me, and they're all pretty shuffled, but I'll casually mix them. I feel like if I were to do any fancy cuts or shuffles, you might think I'm cheating, right? So do me a favor, William. Would you just touch one card that you'd want to choose? This one over here? Okay, William, this will be your playing card. Memorize it. If you cannot see it, that's okay. William's face will tell you all if we found it again in a moment. You'll be like, so check it out. William, I'm going to first cut the card back into the center and just a couple more times, and I'll drop it to prove that I have absolutely no holds. Now, William, I'll cut above where the card should be, below where it probably is, but you at any time just say stop, and I'll stop shuffling, okay? Doesn't matter when. Stop. Okay, William, right now, I have no clue where your card is. Do you believe me? You do? Some people don't. I can tell in the audience. You definitely don't right there, but I'm being honest. I'm being completely genuine. William, your card is lost, and I have no control over how this trick is about to end. Question for you. Time to time, do you feel that you might not have control over certain things that happen? Yeah, it's frustrating, right? Raise your hand if you're like William and I. Check this out, William. Raise your hand if you feel that time to time you don't have control over things. Notice how everyone is almost putting their hand up because, William, feeling we don't have control over something, it's part of being human. But hey, when I was your age, how old are you? 8? That's how old I was when I was your age. So, William, when I was your age, I thought that being in this position and asking for help would have taken away from my independence, but I couldn't have been more wrong. Just so you know, one of the best things that you can do when you do not know what to do is to ask for help. And who better get help from to find a card than a bunny rabbit? You want to meet Andy the rabbit? He's going to help me find your card. He's chilling in the box. You guys want to meet Andy the rabbit? Let me see. Oh, there he is. I thought he escaped. I was so scared. Everyone give Andy a big round of applause. Yeah. This is Andy, everybody. Most of you don't look impressed. TSA would never let me fly with a real rabbit, but check this out. William, I'm going to wind up Andy. This is where I need your help. You can stop the rabbit, steer him, whatever you'd like to do. Andy's going to try to guide you to your playing card. Are you ready? All right, go for it. He's hopping along, and he stops. Do you think he found it? You stopped him. Do you think he found it? Yeah. Okay, William, it could be any card. He could be looking at it. He could pass it. Put your finger on the one you think he chose. This one right here. So none of these, but this exact one. How insane would it be if you and Andy the rabbit worked together to find your card? The 5 of clubs! Give them a big hand! High five. Thank you so much for your help. Go ahead and take your seat, okay? Let's give William another big hand. It takes a lot of bravery to come up here. So, let me remind you what did not just happen. What did not happen is Andy the rabbit did not hop down the deck of cards and say, William, this is your playing card. No, Andy is a great example for what someone like a counselor, social worker, therapist, or even psychologist would do. Simply put, they guided our friend and classmate to a place where they could make the best decision for themselves based on their goal. So whether you realize this or not, William, your goal was to find that card to impress everyone here in the audience, and judging by the applause, you did that without any help, just a little bit of guidance. Coolest thing I've seen this evening. Maybe we should give William another big hand. That was incredible. But that small example is why I've never understood why we have such a holdup when it comes to asking for help when we are dealing with challenges. And something that we may forget to tell our kids is that as part of the human experience, we normalize emotions like happiness, joy, and excitement. We consider these to be normal human emotions. But part of being human is that we all go through challenges. So things like stress, anxiety, and depression, they are also part of the human experience, and they are also normal emotions. And it's not really the emotions in our life or the events in our life that end up making or breaking our success. It's the way that we respond to them. So if this entire presentation only focused on the healthy tools and resources that we have here at school and the community, well, many of you would get bored very quickly, because ever since we were in elementary school, we have done an amazing job, and keep in mind the last decade, we've done such an amazing job of educating kids on who they can talk to, resources that are available. That's another reason why you should check out the tables outside after the presentation, by the way. But it is the unhealthy tools and resources that humans have been using for thousands of years that nobody ever wants to have an honest conversation about. But inside of these conversations are where the actual healing and growth occur, especially when you're talking to someone like a therapist, which reminds me of one of my favorite illusions of all time. So let me tell you a little bit about me. When I was 5 years old, I had started performing magic. And when I was 8 years old, my parents took me to Las Vegas to see a magician named Lance Burton perform at the Monte Carlo. Lance did this amazing illusion with a bottle and a glass, and I'm going to try to recreate for you all here in the auditorium today. But I'll need your help. In order for the bottle and glass illusion to work, I'll need everyone to shout change on the count of 3. If I yell 1, 2, 3, and you all shout change, just like magic, that bottle and glass will switch places on the table. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Check this out. On 1, 2, 3. Most of you don't look impressed. That's okay. Obviously, if I touch the bottle or the glass, that would be cheating. That's why I brought the 2 tubes. So, tube number 1 will go over the glass, and let's see, tube number 2 will go over the bottle. And, oh, my bad. When you're setting up, remember to keep the extra bottle off stage just in case it shatters. So that way you have an extra one. We'll do it again. Tube number 1 over the glass, and tube number 2 over the bottle. On the count of 3, the bottle and glass will switch places, but only if you shout change. On 1, 2, 3. Change. You did it. You wouldn't believe it. They have switched places. That's the easy part. The hard part is to get them to go back. Hey, woo, all right. Most of you don't look impressed. Look, I told you the easy part is to get them to switch places. The hard part, of course, is to get them to go back, just like so. Thank you, thank you. Let's try it again as a group. Shout change on 3. 1, 2, 3. They switch places, ladies and gentlemen. Bottle, glass, glass. Ah, too many bottles. I'm so sorry. Every once in a while, I'll show you what happens. Every once in a while, the bottle and glass, they switch places, but one could fall on the floor and shatter, so you need an extra bottle carefully hidden away. You could do it with just one single tube. For example, you could turn that glass into a bottle or that bottle into a glass. Notice how the bottle stays there, but the glass is still a bottle, and that bottle is still a glass, done with a bottle here or a bottle there. Instead of a glass, you could do a bottle, or instead of a bottle, you could do a glass. Oh, we're out of glasses. We must be short-staffed today, so I brought 2 extra bottles. Thank you, thank you. So, unfortunately, when I was in 5th grade, I got bullied so bad that I had to move schools. So I'm from a really large public school to a very small school called Kingsbury. Kingsbury was so small at the time that junior kindergarten through 8th grade, there were only 124 students. And in my class, there were only 6 other kids. So let me remind you, I had a very different and sheltered experience than what I assume most people are getting in middle school, especially in the Birmingham district. So let me fast forward a bit to my high school experience. So I went to Lake Orion High School. There are 3,000 students in one building, and there are 700 or 800 kids per class. Walking in my freshman year of school, I didn't know anybody. I was very anxious, very nervous about how I was going to make friends. I don't know what's cool today, but at the time, I practiced magic and I played World of Warcraft, so I didn't have a lot in common with people, except for this. I grew up in a wrestling family. My uncle Kent Balow started the United States Girls Wrestling Association. This allowed women to wrestle collegiately in the Olympics, and for those of you who know Ronda Rousey, the UFC fighter, she wrestled through that program until she became a professional. So ever since I was a little kid, I had this enormous amount of pressure that I needed to become a champion wrestler. So good that I got a college scholarship, and when I got that scholarship, I had to go to college and get a degree, and when I graduated with a degree, I would be the first person in my family to be successful. So right around freshman year, it's right around Thanksgiving break, I'm on the wrestling team, and one of the seniors invites me to their house for a party. Like I said, this is a big deal for me at the time because I didn't know anyone. Now, I remember being so pumped. I had this childlike energy about it. I got off the bus, I ran home, and I walked through the front door of my parents' house. And I will never forget this. Kids, maybe you can relate. My parents love me. They just say weird stuff all the time. So I remember walking through the front door. My mom is in the kitchen cutting something. And I walk in, I go, "Mom, you wouldn't believe it. I got invited to a party." And my mom turns around. She goes, "Anthony, that's amazing. You don't have any friends. You should go." And I'm just staring at her just like, bruh. But at least she drove me, right? Friday comes around and we're driving there. We're just like, wah. I scream, "Mom, stop!" She slams on the brakes and goes, "What?" I said, "Nothing. Nobody can see you drop me off. They're going to think I'm lame." She's like, "Yeah, they would. See you, skirt." She pulled right out. Now, I still do this today. Maybe some of you relate to this. I'm a very confident man. I'm speaking to all of you right now. I'm not even sweating. I have zero stress or anxiety about that. But for some reason, if I have to knock on a door or ring a doorbell, that's too much. That puts a knot in my stomach. Anyone else, you'd rather send a text message when you're in the driveway, you're not going to knock on the door? I see some hands going up. See, sometimes our anxiety seems a little ridiculous. Doesn't mean that it's invalid. So that day I go to knock on the door. I'm like, "Nope. Hey, man, I'm here." I send a text. 5 minutes goes by, no response. Just like my best friend of 20 years, if they don't text me back for an hour, my anxiety kicks in. It tells me I must have made them angry, maybe they don't like me anymore, shouldn't have even sent them a text message. Anyone else, you don't get a response from an hour from somebody, you're just like, "That's it, we're just never gonna talk again"? I see people raising their hands, even some of the kids. So that day I decide, you know what? Let's just do things different. I'm big and bad. The first thing I do is I open the door. The first thing I notice is there's bottles just like this everywhere, and there's also really loud music playing. So let me state, this is an environment that I do not thrive in even today. So I'm standing in the corner as awkward as I can be, hands in my pockets, just like, "Oh man." And the senior, the one who invited me, he was all pumped. He ran over, he was like, "Yo, Anthony, why do you look so nervous?" I was like, "Oh, you didn't like tell me people would be drinking and stuff." And he was like, "Anthony, bro, you are so lame." And I was like, "Hey, bro, I know." I ran to the bathroom. It's been 5 minutes. This is a true story. I called my mom. I said, "Mom, you wouldn't believe it, but I'm at a party right now and people are drinking." And my mom, she was like, "What? Anthony, you are so lame." And I was like, "Mom, what?" She goes, "No, thank you for telling me. I'm actually on the way to come get you." See, I think it's important, and I always tell kids it doesn't need to be their parents, that they have someone in their life that can remove them from a situation without getting yelled at, without getting in trouble, or without passing judgment. Had I not been comfortable enough to call somebody, things would have been very different, and here's why. An hour later, the Oakland County Sheriff showed up. Everyone's like, not the sheriff. They walked inside and they lined everyone up on the wall, and they started breathalyzing them. So that day, the kids who didn't drink, they were free to go. But the kids who did drink, they stayed and they got an MIP, which, as you know, is a minor in possession, affecting college scholarship opportunities, employment opportunities. Needless to say, nobody needs this on their record. What I didn't mention is the senior who invited me happened to be one of the best wrestlers in the entire nation at the time. He only lost 3 matches his entire high school career and had a full-ride scholarship to wrestle at any college that he so wanted. But because he got an MIP that night, all of that was taken away from him. Now, automatically, we would assume this person must have been very drunk or very buzzed, but that was not the case. There's one thing that I don't do, and it's lie or sugarcoat things to my audience, which is quite hard as a magician. But the reason I don't do this is because the fear tactic, it doesn't work. So if you don't know this by now, trying to instill fear in people to get them to change, it doesn't work. It has never worked, and it won't ever work. And this actually happened to me when I was in high school. We had a speaker come out. He was really ripped and had a cowboy hat on. I'll never forget this. I don't even know what the message was to this day. He came out, he started yelling. He was like, kids! You're gonna do drugs and alcohol once, you're gonna die. Your whole life is over. And I'm sitting in the front row just like, bro, chill. My uncle drinks a lot. He's at work right now, so it's not the full truth. Kids are so smart. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that a majority of people use things like drugs, alcohol, or even self-harm as a way to try to cope or manage different thoughts and symptoms. And specifically, a lot of these thoughts and symptoms that we try to cope or manage, the ones that are really hard to, they come from stress, they come from our anxiety or depression, or they come from trauma. And there's one thing that I've noticed in my very short 29 years of living. There's absolutely nothing unique about stress, anxiety, or depression. And there's certainly nothing unique about trauma. They are all part of the human experience. And the way that we respond to these things will end up making or breaking our success. See, he had a single drink that night. And a couple years later, when I was getting breakfast with him, I said, hey, if I remember correctly, you had a single drink. You weren't drinking to get drunk or buzzed. What in the world were you doing? He said, Anthony, now that I'm older, I realize the only reason I had any alcohol that night is because I thought if I did not, people would think I was lame or I didn't fit in. And I realized today that it didn't have to be this way. And this is what he said that really stuck with me. He said, it has been 3 years since the night of that party. I haven't seen a single one of those people that I was trying to impress. I cared so deeply about what other people thought about me that I threw away something I worked my entire childhood to get. And I wish that it didn't have to be this way. And that's when I really started to think about life. And I think this is an amazing reminder that for the rest of your life, for all of you that can see and hear me, amazing things are going to happen to you. So let me remind you that for the rest of your life, really awesome and cool things are going to happen to you. I hope that you are present in those moments and you get to experience them fully and that you truly appreciate them. Because part of the human experience is that bad things are also going to happen to everyone in this room. That is just part of the human experience. But again, it's not the events in your life that are going to make or break your success. We go through hard times. We go through stressful times. We experience loss. It's part of the human experience. It is not the events in your life that make or break your success. It's the way that you respond to them. See, my best friend's dad from middle school, he suffered from alcohol use disorder. What I mean by this, in the morning he woke up and he poured his first drink, and let me tell you, it was not coffee. This man drunk from the moment he got up until he went to bed. But let me remind you, this does not make him a bad person. He was and is today an amazing human being who had a wife and 3 kids, a triple-digit salary. We used to ride go-kart tracks around his yard. But something traumatic happened to him in the past, and he didn't know how to deal with that in a way that was healthy. So first, let me acknowledge that we used to call things good and bad coping skills, but we can't really put anything into that category that's very real, in the sense of a good coping skill keeps you alive, and a bad coping skill does not. So let me reframe that. Humans have healthy and unhealthy coping skills. The healthy ways that we can deal with challenges, they support the relationships that we have with ourselves, our friends and family, and our future. The unhealthy ways that we deal with challenges do not support any of those relationships. 16 years of what I thought was an amazing marriage, his wife approached him and said the drinking had become so much, it did affect her and the kids. So she filed for divorce. She wins, she takes the kids. That's not uncommon in America. And that's why I remind everyone that if divorce is something that you're going through, you should talk to someone on how to navigate those emotions. It can be tough. But that first relationship was gone, the one that he has with his family. That's when his friends take notice. His friends say, hey man, your wife and kids are out of the picture, but you're drinking more because of it? Like, we love you, but we cannot see you do this to yourself. So we're also taking a step back. And every single day, this man wakes up, those 2 relationships lost. He looks at his phone, no family, no friends, no text, no call. And he feels some kind of way about this in his stomach, because sometimes our anxiety, it can manifest physically. He says, today is the day that I quit drinking. I miss my wife and kids and my friends. I need to do it for my future. But here's the issue. Ever since high school, the only way this man taught his mind, body, and spirit to deal with negative events was by using an unhealthy coping skill. And let me remind you, an unhealthy coping skill could be drugs or alcohol. It could be self-harm. It could be violence. They rip you away from the 3 relationships I previously mentioned. An hour later, when these emotions overwhelm him, he becomes too stressed or too anxious, he falls right back into that toxic cycle, as we call it. He drinks again. And that's when he loses the 3rd relationship he has. It's the most important relationship that any of you could have. It's the one that you have with yourself. Every single day he says, I'm not going to drink today. An hour later, he ends up drinking. He lies to himself, and he breaks a boundary that he just set up for the success of his future. If you have any self-respect as an individual, if somebody consistently lied to you or broke your boundaries, you wouldn't want to be around that person. You wouldn't trust that person. They're not your friend. Friends don't do that. You can have the exact same relationship with yourself. When you lie to yourself, when we break the boundaries that you set up for the success of your future. And that's why it's so important to understand that good and bad things happen to us as part of the human experience. And we have very little control over these external events. So it's not the events in our life that make or break our success. It's the way that we respond to them. Now, I know I spoke for quite some time. I can see a lot of you digesting, nodding along, and I truly appreciate you guys all for being here. I wanted to pick the room back up, and this is an absolute crowd favorite. I do this at over 200 school districts a year, so sometimes 3 or 4 times a day, depending on how large the school is. Could I borrow, and this could be from an adult too, could I borrow an iPhone from somebody? If you have an iPhone, go ahead and pull it up and hold up your calculator, just so I know you have the calculator, and it, yeah, see, there's a bunch of random colors. That's all I was like, I don't recognize that calculator. Okay, cool. Can I get your help? Would you come up here? Yeah, let's give this man a round of applause. Come on up. I like the sweater, too. It is sweater season. I wish it's going to be a little hot up here for a sweater, but it'll be awesome. What was your name, sir? Andy? Oh, like the rabbit. Nice to meet you. So let's give Andy another big hand. Hey. So, Andy, if you'll stand on my left side for me, that way everyone can see this easiest. So no trapdoors, nothing like that. But let me see your phone if you don't mind. So are you inside? You're probably inside. Okay. First off, I'll exit out of your apps so you know I'm not going through them. And you've got a lot of apps. Okay. And we'll go back to the calculator. So do me a favor, Andy. Would you think about a 4-digit number? And then when everyone else here in the room also think about a 3-digit number in their head for me. Let me know when you guys all have this number, okay? Like raise your hand when you have it. I'm going to turn your screen lock off as well. That way the phone will actually turn, because I think I just turned it on. There we go. Cool. Now that your phone actually turns, I'll show you what I did. So first of all, whatever you had on the calculator is gone, so whatever number. 6 times 6 equals 36. I didn't save any equations or something crazy. But let's start with some 3-digit numbers. I'm going to multiply them onto the screen, so you have to hear this instead of see it. Now, I noticed you have your hand raised up over there, young man. Would you say it out loud? 303? Okay, 303. Is that really what I type in? Yep. I'm going to hit that times button. Let's do someone, yeah, go ahead. 999, that's a really big number. Times 999. How about you had your hand up? 271. Okay, 271. Now, because of that 999, we'll probably end on your 4-digit number. I think this will be really big. So what's your 4-digit number?
5712.
5712. Did you change it when I asked? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit the equal button. And we get this giant exponent of 2.4 to 88, 53 to the 9th power. When you turn, it solves for 2,048,852,707. If I had that written in my right pocket, would you be impressed? I would be too. That'd be really cool, wouldn't it? So I noticed you're here with your family, yep. I assume. So what was your name, miss? Julie, do you and Andy recognize this number? Oh area code. Is that your wife's phone number? Yeah. Most people clap when I do a good job. Some just have to pick their jaw up off the ground. I appreciate it. Go ahead and return back to your seat. Let's give Andy a big hand. Kids, originally I developed that magic trick so I could get a girl's phone number. If that's not magic Riz, I don't know what is. Don't worry, I don't have that memorized or nothing like that. But the reason that I use the phone for today, not only to impress you and to pull you back in, which is, especially when you're presenting to middle school and high school groups, it's so important to, give them something that's more fun than just talking for an hour. So I think magic is a really great way to do that, to invoke awe and wonder, but maybe break down any biases that we may have had. But the reason that I use the phone for today is so that we can all talk about the relationship that we have with technology and social media. So first, let me say, I'm not about to be the weird guy up here walking around like, kids, you got to stay off social. It's bad for you, see? Because I'd be a complete hypocrite for that. I've gotten over 300 million views online in my career. I have over 500,000 followers between my platforms. Rest in peace, TikTok. I just lost a bunch of them. But it's very important to acknowledge that good things have happened because of social media. And I can have a healthy relationship with my phone and technology. It's when we do not acknowledge the unhealthy relationship that we have with our phones and technology that things can be a little mismanaged. And instead of trying to explain to a group of kids, instead of trying to explain to anybody who is not a mental health professional how dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine work in our brains when it comes to addiction, because none of us speak Latin, let me share with you a story that you might find yourself or somebody else in that's a lot more relatable. So every single day, kids go to school Monday through Friday, and a majority of them have an amazing experience. What I mean by that is they feel safe, they feel accepted, and they feel supported because of the actions and words of other people around them. And for a majority of people or kids, when they go home, that continues. A lot of people return back to households where the pillars are full of safety, acceptance, and support. That's just not something I could ever fully relate to. What I mean by this is I rather would have been at school because that's where my friends were. My friends and I made the most of our high school experience. That means we didn't have, we had bad days, of course, but because of the actions and words of people I surrounded myself with, I genuinely felt safe, accepted, and supported. I knew that when I went home, things would very quickly change. Not everyone goes back to a household where they feel safe or accepted or where they have any support. And likely those individuals who may go to school and not find safety, acceptance, or support, and then go home and not find safety, acceptance, or support, well, they jump online looking for affirmation. And that's not what social media was built for. Sadly, people further attack them in comment sections, direct messages, and even under fake profiles. And it never has to be that way. As a kid who used to beeline it through the front door of his house, straight to his bedroom, throw his backpack on his bed, and use his social media and homework as a window of escape, I can tell you that it just doesn't have to be this way. But I also have a really great reminder and something that I'd like you to think about. So first of all, I've had the really great privilege of working with the best and biggest brands and companies that we have here in Michigan. So just to name a few, Matt Ishbia uses me as UWM's magician for a lot of executive dinners and things like that. But I've also worked with Magna, BorgWarner, Dow, and even Hungry Howie's, I found out was a local Michigan business. And I've noticed something. If you can't figure out, and this is so important for kids to understand before they get into the workforce, if you cannot figure out how to work with people who think differently than you do, believe in different things than you do, identify in whatever way they wish to, simply put, wish to live their life in a different way, you will never succeed. Any company that is worth working for and pays you a salary that you can live off of will simply fire you and replace you with someone who has the exact same degree and the exact same skill set. That's how it works in the real world. Because nobody wants to work 40 hours a week with someone who has a bad attitude and is incapable of getting along with others. Which is why we tell everyone, ever since they're 3 years old, that if you have nothing nice to say, you don't say it at all. And that's so simple. But nothing I said was accusatory. So we are all inherently kind, and I believe we are all born with the best intentions. And so a lot of people are like me. They hear that and they go, great, Anthony, that doesn't solve my problems because I'm so kind to other people, yet sometimes I still feel like there's something I'm missing. And until I was in therapy, I was talking to my therapist, Tanya. She's a really nice lady. I said, Tanya, why do I struggle with anxiety? And how can I have a depression diagnosis? I'm incredibly kind to other people. I follow my workout routines. I eat very healthy. And I speak so much positivity to other people. And she stopped me and she said, Anthony, if you have nothing nice to say, you shouldn't say it to yourself either. And that's when it hit me, that in my entire school experience, we had only taught that is an external mantra. If you have nothing nice to say, you shouldn't say it to other people. But never once did I ever consider if I have nothing nice to say, that I probably shouldn't say it to myself either. And then it hit me. When I was growing up, when I would talk to people, I made it sound like I was safe, accepted, and supported, and that was normal. But looking back at my middle school and high school experience, the words that I used to describe myself, they were not full of safety or acceptance. And they definitely weren't supportive to my goals. And that's one of the major reasons they brought me here today, was to share a little bit about myself, which if you really think about it, I haven't. I've shared with you that there are healthy and unhealthy coping skills that we can use and what the difference makes. I've talked to you guys about social media, and I've showcased some of my favorite magic tricks. But for this next part of the presentation, actually, if we're doing the school assembly format, I try to bring 2 of the teacher administrations up here. Could I get 2 people to help out? I don't know, do we have any school? I know some of the school professionals are here, but I'm looking for 2 adults. Could I get 2 of you to help me out? Doesn't matter. Okay, we got you. If you want to work your way up stage, give them a round of applause. I need 1 other person to help me out. 1 more. Yeah, can we can have you're very far, so let's get you. You're very close. Let's give her a big round of applause as well. Come on up. Nice to meet you. I'm Anthony. Your name? Lauren. Lauren, do you work in Birmingham too? Okay, what's your role here?
I am a preschool teacher.
You're a preschool teacher. Which preschool?
Midvale.
Where?
Midvale, it's just right next to Seahome.
Okay, awesome. It's been a couple years since preschool for me, so couldn't remember. And you're in Novi, correct?
Yes.
So, and what's your role in Novi?
School counselor.
Okay, we got a preschool principal and
Teacher.
preschool teacher and a school counselor. Let's give them both a big round of applause. I have something in the bag, something you might need after some of those preschool days. Have you ever been inside of one of these? Oh, no. Don't worry, because you are not going in there, but I am. So this is what I was thinking. I was actually going to have you tie me into the straitjacket, every single strap that goes from the top all the way to the bottom, okay? So there are 5 or 6 straps on the back, and there's another one that goes around my arms. Now, here's the catch. And maybe some of you didn't know this. There was a famous magician named Harry Houdini who spent a majority of his adult life living and performing right here in Michigan. For those who don't know, Harry Houdini passed away in Detroit on Halloween about 100 years ago. He was famous for going to places like the Scripps Mansion in Lake Orion, to Clawson when it was a much different city, but spent so much time in the Detroit area. He was famous for escaping straitjackets. That's just not enough to hold me. That's why I have 40 feet of chain here on the ground. What I was thinking is that once you have placed me in the straitjacket, if you meet me by that microphone, you 2 will work together as a team to also lock me in the 40 feet of chain that I have across the stage. Here's a padlock, don't lock it. To make this work, you'll have this end and you'll have that end. What was your name again?
Katie.
And your name? Good, your names haven't changed. So Katie and Lauren, what you'll do is you'll each grab an end of the chain and you'll roll it up like a hose, a chain, or a cable. Eventually, you'll be a foot or 2 away from each other. When that happens, I want you to pull as tightly as you can on the chain so that it comes up to my chest level. And I want you to walk around me, so both of you in 360, tying the chain so that it wraps between my elbows and under my shoulders until all 40 feet of chain is gone, and padlock it, and that should make for one great escape. You guys want to see that escape? Say yeah! Okay, do me a favor. I know our tech team who is doing an amazing job. We should give our tech guys a big round of applause. They have a song preloaded. With that being said, we do have a camera person here that is broadcasting this for television. This is the only part of the presentation, just due to the nature of the content, that I don't allow to be open to the public. I think it's very important that we have direct access to tools and resources or people that we can talk to. So for those of you who tuned in on our public television, thank you so much, and hopefully we will see you in person.